This is the work order that we're going to be working with on all the cars that come through the system. It'll have information on the guest's name, some of their personal information. It'll have also their vehicle information. Some of it that will be important to us. It will have the VIN number on it, which will be important for parts ordering purposes. And it'll have things like the license plate number, some specifics as far as engine, things like that, what kind of transmission it has. These are important for a few different reasons. One of the things it also has information on is if the lug nut key is present, because if the vehicle has a locking lug nut, we actually have to have the key for it. So we either check that yes, it is, they have it and it is accounted for, or no. If it's checked no, then we cannot remove tires and we cannot perform any brake work or inspect the brakes in the vehicle. So it's very important that we note this when it shows up. The purchase order number is going to be important for the parts ordering people so they can track the vehicles that the parts are going to. And this is found by the license plate number. It'll be ABC123 is the license plate number on this vehicle. And we're going to use the example of the blue garage lane 3. You will use the first letter of the color of the garage as the first part of the purchase order number, and then the lane. So in this instance, it will be B3 ABC123, and then they can track the number to that specific car. The way this checklist is set up, it is done in a numerical sequence, and the way it is set up, hopefully it will help to speed up the process of how we go through all the vehicles that we're working on. Basically what it is when the person gets in the vehicle, the first thing they'll be able to do is check things like the parking brake and the lights and work through a series of things without even getting out of the vehicle. They can check off this whole checklist with the help of maybe one other person outside before they even step out of the car. And then the next things you'll go through are under the hood and so on and so forth. If we follow this item by item, everything's going to be in a logical sequence to check the things out. We won't be going back and forth a lot, so I would please ask that everyone stick to the pattern that is on this and go in that order, and things will move quickly.
When the vehicle mover gets to the car, we have the opportunity to check several items on the checklist. First of all would be the parking brake. Please set the parking brake, put the vehicle in reverse and rev it to 1,000 RPM, and the parking brake should hold. Then do the same in drive and the vehicle should hold. Then we have the opportunity to test the lights. Check headlights, high beams, low beams, turn signals, flashers. This will take a second person to do. Interior lights. We're going to check the horn. Then we can also check lights on the dash, such as the check engine light or any other lights that may possibly be on, alarming or letting us know if there's something wrong with the car that needs to be taken care of. Check the windshield wipers on low and on high. Check the condition of the wipers also to make sure that they are in good condition. There's no tearing of the rubber, or there's no cracking or anything like that. We're going to check the engine oil level, or we'll check the transmission oil level first, because this will be done while the engine is still running. Next, we will check the air filter to see what condition it is in. Make sure of any hoses or anything that are routed. This air filter is dirty. You can see what it should look like and what it looks like now. So that air filter will be replaced, and that should be checked off on the needed parts list. When we have the new air filter, we'll put it back in, and we can check that off the list. Making sure to get all hoses and lines attached. Next, check power steering fluid. These you can see through and we can also check the brake fluid, also a visual inspection through the housing. Next, we're going to check engine oil level before we drain the oil. As you can see, this one has no oil appearing on the dipstick. That is definitely something that needs to be noted. When we're checking radiator hoses, check for soft, pliable radiator hoses. They should be soft. Make sure there's no brittleness. Watch out for hot spots around the engine where you can get burned. Do not remove the radiator cap with pressure on the system. Crustiness like that is an indication of a coolant leak. When we're adding washer fluid to the reservoir, don't fill it all the way at first. Check for any leaks and then continue filling it. They usually take about a gallon to fill. When you're checking belts, the best way to check a belt is to find a spot where the belt goes around a pulley and exposes the inside of the belt. Look for cracks in that area. Look for any indication of fraying on the outer edges of the belt. Those are all signs of wear. On the battery, look for corrosion on the terminals. They should be nice and clean. Look for any indications of fraying on the cables. If there is any corrosion, use baking soda and water to clean them. Place chalk blocks behind the rear tires before lifting the car. Find a good suitable location to lift from. It has to be a good strong part of the frame. Sometimes they have to be on the behind the front tires is a good area where the factory jack location is. Not all vehicles can be lifted in the center as this one is. Then place your jack stands underneath. Find a good substantial portion of the frame. Again, the original jack location is a good spot. Have somebody as a spotter watching when you lower the vehicle to make sure that the area you use doesn't bend or flex when you're lowering the vehicle. If it does, stop and find a new spot to lift it from. Look for any signs of leaks on the engine. The valve covers are located at the top of the engine. Look all the way around the valve covers. This is just dirt and grime, but no actual oil leaks. Any very shiny areas, shiny wet areas would be a good indication of an oil leak. Continue to check all the way around the engine and even to the back side. It is difficult to access some of the engine. Do your best to use a flashlight and get a visual inspection. Then from underneath, look for any signs of leaks all around the oil pan. Any signs like this where they're shiny and dark is an indication of a leak. Look at the drain plug, look at the CV joints and boots, and any place that they go into the transmission is a spot for a leak. Everything appears dry on this one. Getting underneath the car is just a good chance to get a look at it. When you go to remove the drain plug, it is lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Should come loose pretty easily. If there is a gasket or a washer on the drain plug, make sure it stays with it and goes back on when you're putting it back in. Watch for hot oil. Hot oil will burn you, so use gloves. And after you drain this, you can locate the oil filter. Move your drain pan to a location where it should be able to catch both the oil from the drain plug and from the oil filter. You may need a tool to remove the oil filter. Again, this one's located beneath the exhaust manifold. It's very hot, so be careful. Once you get it loose, lift it with the open side up so it doesn't drain oil all over and make a mess. There is a rubber gasket. This needs to come with the oil filter. Make sure it doesn't stay on the engine. Make sure it is with the oil filter. If you double stack those, it can cause a major leak and cause engine damage. This is what it looks like with it removed. It definitely needs to be there. Whenever you're replacing it, when you're putting a new oil filter on, dip your finger in some oil and lubricate the O-ring when it goes on. When you rotate the oil filter on, it should go on nice and smoothly. Once it seats, go another quarter of a turn.